Shalom Yashua Shalom. Kala Layimla, Alahayanawa, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great Muslim who teach one rule well, who taught me this truth. Peace and salutation to the Akim, the fellow laborers, the hopeful elect, pushing this truth at risk in their own lives throughout the four corners of the earth. To the Ak with listening, learning, Shalom. It's Brother Shema from the Pillars of Benjamin camp here in Toronto with another lesson. And we'll get right into it. A news article came out on the Times of Israel. Fatal blow to talks. UN nuke watchdog says Iran removing 27 surveillance cameras. The IAEA head says loss of equipment at nuclear sites pose a serious challenge to monitoring efforts. Call situation very tense. The head of the UN's nuclear watchdog agency said Thursday that Iran is removing 27 surveillance cameras from nuclear sites in the country, raising the risk of its inspectors being unable to track Tehran's advances as it enriches uranium closer than ever to weapons-grade levels. Rafael Mariana Grossi, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, made the comments at a hastily called news conference in Vienna, standing next to an example of the cameras installed across Iran. Right? That's an example of the cameras, right? The watchdog, right? America the Great, the bully on the block, right? Grossi said the move poses a serious challenge to its efforts, warning that in 3 to 4 weeks, it will be unable to maintain a continuity of knowledge about Iran's program. This will be a fatal blow to negotiations over Iran's tattered nuclear deal with world powers, Grossi said. When we lose this, then it's anybody's guess, he added. Iran did not immediately acknowledge it was removing the cameras, though it threatened Wednesday to take more steps amid a years-long crisis that threatens to widen into further attacks across the Mideast. Grossi said that would leave 40-something cameras still in Iran. The sites that would see cameras removed include its underground Natanz nuclear enrichment facility, as well as its facility in Isfahan, Grossi said. We are in a very tense situation with the negotiations over the nuclear deal at a low ebb, Grossi added. Now we are adding this to the picture. As you can see, it's not a very nice one. On Wednesday, and this is a satellite image of Iran's underground nuclear site. On Wednesday, Iran said it shut off 2 devices the EIEA uses to monitor enrichment at Natanz. Grossi acknowledged that, saying that among the devices being removed was the online enrichment monitor and flow meter. Those watch the enrichment of uranium gas through piping at enrichment facilities. Iran's decision comes as the IAEA's board censored Tehran over what the agency calls the Islamic Republic's failure to provide credible information over man-made nuclear material found at 3 undeclared sites in the country. Let me jump down. An IR-6 centrifuge spins uranium 10 times as fast as the first-generation centrifuges that Iran was once limited to under its nuclear deal with world powers. As of February, Iran already had been spinning a cascade of IR-6s at its underground facility at Fordo, according to the IAEA. Yeah, uranium rods. Iran and world powers agreed in 2015 to the nuclear deal, which saw Tehran drastically limit its enrichment of uranium in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions. In 2018, you see how the devil work? You know, we'll lift our sanctions off of you. but you have to comply to this, right? In 2018, then President Donald Trump unilaterally withdrew the U.S. from the accord, raising tensions across the wider Middle East and sparking a series of attacks and incidents. Iran insists its program is for peaceful purposes, though UN experts and Western intelligence agencies say Iran had an organized military and nuclear program through 2003. Right? And through the spirit, Iran Iran probably possesses these things already, man. You know what I mean? But them taking on their cameras, let's get some scriptures. Right? So the bully on the block can't watch, right? Let's get some scriptures. Habakkuk 2 verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him? Right? All these other nations take up a parable against him. Who? America. And a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him. Woe means destruction. That increases that which is not his, right? Who's gone around the world and taken what's not theirs? America. The whole world knows this. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, right? Ladeth himself with thick clay. The debt. America the Great is laden with a debt. Trillions of dollars. North of $23 trillion. Right? Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee? Right? These other nations. Bite who? America. And awake that shall vex thee? Right? These other nations are being roused up. Scriptures say, I will stir up the Medes, roughly paraphrasing, as Gog and Magog, the Russians, right? And thou shalt be for booties unto them, right? A spoil, right? Booties means to the spoils of war. Let's look into the word booties in the Hebrew.
Strong's H 4933.
Salakia.
Strong's H 4933. Meshisah. Meshisah.
Right? Booty, spoil, plunder. Right? America the Great, Babylon the Great will be laid waste, will be laid desolate, to be plundered, the root word, to spoil, be rifled. Right? America the Great, Babylon the Great will be destroyed with thermonuclear intercontinental ballistic missiles. Thus saith the scriptures. The arrows. Verse 8. Habakkuk 2 verse 8. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Right? America the Great. Spoiled many nations. Taken, robbed, pillaged, steal. Oppress a man in his heritage. Because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Joel 3 verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, right? Proclaim ye this among you heathen nations. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, right? Prepare war. Wake up the militaries. We see militaries being mobilized. There's a article. This came out yesterday. U.S. military says no nuclear material on board crashed plane, right? A plane crash and 5 are feared dead in an incident just north of the border with Mexico, right? A military plane, right? So militaries are being mobilized, man, right? Joel 3 verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, the militaries. That all the men of war draw near, right? These wars, these skirmishes, it's ultimately leading to World War III. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords. Plowshares are farming instruments, farming tools, right? The time of peace is done, right? These nations that have been in peace are getting ready for war. And your pruning hooks into spears. A pruning hook is a pruning instrument, a tree pruner, right? Into spears. Let the weak say I am strong, right? These historically weaker nations are now saying they are strong, right? These guys saying this nation of Iran taking down 27 surveillance cameras, which is the UN watchdog, right? That's the weak saying they are strong. They don't care. They don't care. They're being roused up. Isaiah 9 verse 5. For every battle of the warrior, and who's doing the rousing up? Yahawah. Right? Is it in scripture? In Isaiah 13, I believe. The Lord mustereth the battle. Come on. Isaiah 13 verse 4. And it reads, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts, all caps, Yahawah, mustereth the host armies of the battle. You look in this word, mustereth, right? The Most High is putting his spirit on these nations to rise up with their arrows, the missiles.
Strong's H 6485. Pakad. Pakad.
Right, in the Hebrew. To attend, to muster, to appoint, assign, lay upon as a charge, deposit, right? To be watched over, right? The Most High is putting the spirit to call up, to muster, call up, right? The battle to be visited, to be made overseer, to be entrusted, right? The Most High is calling up the battle, right? Ultimately leading to World War III, ultimately leading to the battle of Armageddon, the War of Armageddon, right? Isaiah 13 verse 5, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, right? The missiles. Even the Lord, all caps, Yahawah, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land, right? So this is what's coming, man, right? These missiles. Isaiah 9 verse 5, for every battle of the warrior is with the confused noise, right? And garments rolled in blood, right? Ancient wars were fought hand to hand, noisome battles, swords clanging, lances, horses galloping, screaming, blood-soaked garments. But this war shall be with burning and fuel of fire, right? And what's going to cause that? The missiles. Revelation 11, the points in 14, but we'll read from 11. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, right? Beginning with the, right, Israelites. And they stood upon their feet, right? The elect, that's the breath, beginning with Abba Bivens, right? The 3 days and a half was the time of slavery, deep slumber, sleep, not knowing who we are, right? Standing upon their feet began in the mid to late 60s. And great fear fell upon them which saw them, right? These other nations, beginning with Esau, Edom. Great fear fell upon them that saw them, right? Because these other nations, beginning with Esau, Edom, know who we are. And they know once we return to our true power, right? It's a fearful thing for them, these heathen nations. Verse 12, and they heard a great voice from heaven, saying unto them, come up hither, right? Let's look at this word, come up hither. And this is the deliverance. right? And these scriptures, the Spirit has to be dealing with Thawada Yawashi Shai, Bashim Qadash. But you have to look at these scriptures through the Spirit, because they're written parabolically, man, and they jump. Come up hither. Come up in the Greek.
Strong's G 305 on a bino. On a bino.
Right? Ascend, to go up. Right? Right? Hither.
Strong's G 5602. Hode. Hode.
Right? Here, to this place. What place? The chariots. Right? Right? And who's this talking about? The elect? Lord willing, we have that number. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, a chariot, and their enemies beheld them, right? You see the nations, Esau, Edom. They're going to see this deliverance. Verse 13. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, right? The missiles. And the 10th part of the city fell, right? The 10th part of the city, America the Great, Babylon the Great, right? It's split up into 10 zip codes, right? Look it up. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, right? A complete number of men is going to be slain. And the remnant, who is the elect, were affrighted, right? This deliverance is going to be great. So great that the elect will be affrighted, scared, and gave glory to the power of heaven, right? They're going to be singing the song of Moses. Revelation 15, verse 2, right? Here's the point. Revelation 11, verse 14. The second one was past, right? The second war. And behold means look. The third woe, third war, with quickly, right? Third World War, right? Prophecy. Shalom.